Wow, it really looks clear today. Given the fact that it's been very, very cloudy the past few days, I think we are very lucky. Jemima, can we get everything started with the observation?
Yes, definitely. Let me set up the telescope and bring it right here. And would you look at the sky? Wow, it's so clear. Not a cloud in sight.
To be honest, I think I really love this telescope because it's going to make our work very easy. This is one of those modern telescopes from Unistellar, and I think it's a great, great telescope to have. It has its own GPS, which means that once we do the calibration, which basically is telling the telescope that we are in Ghana, we are in Accra, and we point it to the sky, it's basically going to do all what it needs to do in terms of identifying which part of the earth we are on, and then from there it can be able to look at the night sky and then map some of the objects that we would want to observe. I really, really like this telescope so much. Anyway,
Yes.
so what do we have to observe today, Jemima?
From the list that we agreed on in our prior session, we agreed that we would look at the constellations Sagittarius.
Okay.
To be more specific, our source would be Sagittarius A.
Hey, okay.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that's one of the constellations I like. I mean, given that in Ghana we can see Orion for most of the time, I think Sagittarius is definitely one of the cool ones that people would like to see. I think we have a few minutes before the telescope actually starts the actual observation. We may need to, well, we did the calibration a couple of times before we started, so I think it should take a few minutes. Whilst we wait, Jemima, tell me what really intrigues you about the night sky, or what are some of the things you like to look at when you go outside usually?
Yes, I am more of a nocturnal person. So
Oh, we all
yes,
are.
definitely. We are doing observations of stars that come out only at night. So yes, I love how the stars just twinkle in the night. They look very interesting, and it's very interesting to just think that wow, these things are light years away, thousands and thousands of light years away, and these are just the ones we can see. So imagine the ones that
Mhm.
we cannot see. Like the entire sky is littered with so many amazing things like that we are trying to explain. It's like we are not alone in this world.
You see,
Kind of brings life to perspective. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. Looking at the stars is definitely one of the things that I think you don't even have to be an expert. Usually, when people ask
Yes.
me about, um, I mean, people will ask something like, "Oh, what's astronomy?" or like, "Tell me about space." And usually, what I say is, if you just imagine that you were the very first human being to be on this planet. If you look around, obviously you see those animals, the plants, those amazing things around you. But if you look up in the night sky, what you notice is that obviously if it's in the night time, it will be littered with stars like you said, and you would imagine that, oh, would these stars fall on the earth one day? Would I ever be able to reach these real stars? And of course, if you happen to have even the moon also around, then you also go into a different a different dimension, really. Imagining if you could even
Yes.
ever go to the moon. So yes, looking at the stars is definitely one of the interesting things that I think everybody could relate. Just fun fact. Do you happen to
Mhm.
know why stars twinkle?
Why? Tell me.
Oh, so when we were young, we used to sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars," and
Yes.
the reason why stars in general would twinkle as we will sing in those nursery rhymes is so stars are very very far away. What that means is that their light travel a long distance, and in astronomy
Yeah, yeah.
we say light years. which is just
Yes.
how long it will take light to actually be able to move from one point to the other in terms of, I mean, thinking about it, distance, if it's supposed to be in the air, in the years. And because they are far away, when their light reach the Earth, it goes through the Earth's atmosphere, obviously, and the atmosphere basically causes the light from those stars to bend. And when that happens, it appears to us to be that these stars are twinkling, which usually they are not really. And yeah,
Wow.
another thing I think which is slightly related to why, for example, again, I don't think a lot of people know that you can actually see um, the planets in our solar system with your naked eye. I mean,
Yes.
you can see, I
Yeah.
think, five of those planets with your naked eye. You don't need a
Yes.
telescope. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the question will come up that, oh, how do I see those various planets? If it's
Mm-hmm.
me with my naked eye, how would I be able to differentiate between looking
I
at those
mean,
various stars and then also being able to say, okay, this is actually a planet. So
yeah.
you can actually use the same Twinkle Twinkle Little Star rhyme to be
Mm.
able to differentiate whether you are looking at a star or a planet. So again, stars are very far away, so it means that they will
Mm.
twinkle, like I explained. They are light when they enter
Yeah.
the atmosphere. However,
Yeah.
planets are relatively close to us, which is they are in the
Yes.
solar system, and which means they are close to us, so their light don't travel a long distance. So if you are looking at the
Mm-hmm.
night sky like we are now, I'm not sure we have any of the planets rising in this position yet. But if there was supposed to be a planet, it would have appear as a star. However, it will keep a steady light. It wouldn't twinkle. And that should tell us that what we are looking at is actually a planet and not a star. And I think it's
Yes.
fun for people to know that. And one other thing you would also be able to use is if you don't know that whatever planet you are looking at, if it looks reddish, then that's probably the planet Mars. And it's because
Yeah.
it appears red because Mars has iron oxide on its surface,
Mhm.
which is just rust,
Yeah.
and it appears
Mm-hmm.
reddish. So yeah, these are fun facts that if you happen to ever go outside, um, yeah, I'm sure
You
Jemima,
should know.
we have had outreach where we have told kids these things. But yeah,
Yes.
definitely, I think it's very interesting. Anyway, before we get carried away, I think the telescope should have finished the calibration now. Jemima, can you take a look?
Yes. All right. It is currently pointing at our
Oh,
source
great.
and it's ready tracking.
Oh,
Yeah.
great, great. So we don't even have to do anything. It's going to
Yes.
track and
Automatically
then yeah,
tracking.
and then we get the data. Cool, cool. All right. Um, yeah, maybe you can tell me how you ended up in astronomy. I think we still have some time.
Oh yeah, we
Or
do.
or
It's actually
maybe I think a better question to ask would be, I mean, why space? Why are you so interested in space? Is it something you have always wanted to do? Yeah, tell me.
yes. It's actually a pretty funny and kind of crazy
Oh.
story. It's all began, yes, when I was a youngling. I wasn't even a toddler, I was like a little baby.
Mm.
And I was a nocturnal child when I was a baby as well. It
Surprise,
didn't just
surprise.
begin with work. I know. So I would sleep and I would just wake up randomly at 12 a.m. and just cry on the dot. I had an internal clock.
Wow.
So, yes. And my dad would send me outside to try and distract me or take me out for a drive. And since then, I just began to love the night's life. And you would see these tiny lights in the sky. That made the sky look so beautiful. And I asked my dad, "Oh, what are these tiny lights?" And he's like, "Oh, those are, the angels watching down on you and everything."
Mm.
And when I watched like movies and Disney, the stars are my ancestors. And that was yes. And that was before, we got to school and we learned about astronomy, like basic astronomy, like those are stars,
Mm.
and the sun is also a star, and the moon. And I was really intrigued by it. Like there are literally balls of light and rock just floating outside. So the Earth wasn't the only thing.
Mm.
Like the Earth, just a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the entire universe. And that was when it began the fascination. And I guess it became difficult to actually like astronomy because everybody is trying to focus on getting score and getting grades, and you're looking up in the sky all the time.
I can really
Yeah.
relate. Yeah, I can relate.
Yes, definitely. But that was how it began. Just curiosity about the things above. Yes.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I was hoping that my space story was very unique, but I think you won the competition if it is a competition.
Yay! I want cake.
I think you won. You won.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about you. I think yours will be much, much interesting. Yes, tell
Yeah.
me.
So yeah, so for me well, I don't remember most of my childhood if I like looking at the night sky. But I think one of the things I remember being a child that I was, even now I still have is I'm very, very curious. I tend to want to know how things happen and how they do. And
Okay.
one of the things that easily, like, I could easily relate to was anything that has to do with space. So when I look at the night
Yeah.
sky, all what I see is just mysteries. It's like things that needs to be like we don't know a lot about space, obviously, and um,
Yeah.
or our universe in general. And
Hmm?
having to look at the night sky gave me that thrill that, oh, looking at the night sky, okay, how are stars formed? How
Yeah.
how do they even shine? Can we ever go to these various stars before? And even going into
Yeah.
planets, can we ever have another planet that has life on it like we do here on Earth? So yeah, those are some of the things that when I look at the night sky, it comes into my mind. And I found out
Wow.
very quickly that astronomy is one of those subjects that like comes to me naturally. It's very, very weird,
Yeah.
but I don't struggle when I need to study anything, space science or astronomy or anything that has to do with space. I find it very, very easy. I have a connection,
Mhm.
and I should say that to me, I mean, even till now, I still don't understand how it works. It's almost like
Okay.
how people say, okay, you can have a talent to play football. When you get the ball, you just know. It's almost like you know how to, I mean, what to do with the ball,
Play.
right? Of course,
Yes.
you would need to practice a lot of times, but it's
Yes.
like it comes natural to you, and that's kind of my connection to space. It's very easy. Of course, I have had times where I had to study these things before. Obviously, I know a lot more about it, but it's one of those subjects that comes very easy to me. And I
Yeah.
used to connect this to quantum mechanics um,
Oh.
because quantum mechanics is basically the flip side of what astronomy is. Astronomy is basically the study of everything we see in the night sky. So you can think of the stars, which is as big as you can have them, right? But then quantum mechanics is the study
Yeah.
of the very small things. And these are two subjects that well, one is an actual subject in university, which is quantum mechanics, which I did very
Yeah.
well on. And I guess it's just the connection that I
Great.
had with space with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of my space story. And even till now, I'm very, very motivated about whether we are involved in building satellite or involved in just trying to understand or doing a research about how, say, young massive stars form, why they are important and everything. So yeah, that's a bit, yeah, that's basically my space story. And yeah, it's actually interesting that we are both drawn to, I mean, space in different ways, and we
Yeah.
have our own
Yeah.
unique connections. It's amazing. Well, I think we still have some time, and
Yes.
probably
I have taken two sets of data right now.
okay.
So I'm going on third.
The third one, yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay,
Yes.
right. I say that these days having to do any observation with one of these very modern telescopes is so cool
Mhm.
that you don't really
Definitely.
struggle. I think a lot of people when they imagine what an astronomer is. They always imagine somebody with a telescope sitting in their own corner, pointing to the night sky and then looking. These days, it's not like that.
With weird
Obviously,
hand glasses.
yeah, yeah. Obviously,
I
because
think that's it too, you know.
say again.
The weird hand glasses. I think that's you.
Exactly, exactly. But these days, it's not really like that because of technology. Just like how we have our telescope set up now, it's going to do everything. We just have to push a few buttons and also type in a few stuff, and it's going to do everything for us. So it makes work as an astronomer in general very easy. And I think it also becomes very easy for your normal, well, I shouldn't say normal, I should say people who are now getting interested in astronomy. It's very easy to
Yes.
do any astronomy because you can be able
Yeah.
to do your setup with the telescope very easy because of those tools. I think we can have some time to talk about perhaps some of the things that maybe coming out of science fiction really. What's your
Yeah.
take on interstellar travel? Do you think one day we would ever be able to travel?
Um, it's a travel. It's possible, but the only thing is the energy and how we can use energy. For instance, stars are millions and millions of light years away. For instance, Sagittarius, what we are studying right now,
Hmm.
is 26,000 light years away. That is a lot of light years away.
Yeah.
And it cannot be planned in one, two, or three, even 10 generations lifetime. It's going to need a
No.
lot of years. So yes. So if we want to do that, we will need to travel more than the speed of light. And so far, only a few subatomic particles can actually do that. I always forget the names of these subatomic particles that can travel the speed of light. But
Well,
yes,
it's. I mean, obviously, we are not particle.
this is this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's difficult to follow. But I think in school we learnt about the quarks, the leptons, the
Yes.
gluons. I'm not sure if that's the pronunciation. These days we even have gravitons, which is believed to
Yes.
be things that may be carrying gravitational waves. So yeah, I mean
Yes.
it's definitely an interesting topic. Just to add to what you said, yeah, I think
Yeah.
for me, yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I think the only way we can be able to do interstellar travel, and just to clarify, interstellar means traveling to another star system, like you said,
Yeah.
Sagittarius, is
Mm-hmm.
26 light years, which so I said 26,
This how.
26,000 light years, which means that it would take 26,000 years for a light source to travel from that star system, right, to us
Okay.
on Earth. So if you imagine that you could stand on that star and then shine a light. Basically, you don't have to shine a light because you are standing on the star. So light from it
Yeah.
would reach Earth in 26,000 years time,
Yes.
which is interesting. It actually reminds me about a fact before we go on to talk about interstellar travel. So a lot of people don't know this, but we astronomers in general say that when you look at the sun, which you should never look at the sun with your naked eye because you would end up being blind at some point. But if you could say wear something protective and look at the sun, actually the sun
Yes.
you are looking at is how the sun was in the past. So it's not the
Yes.
sun now because it takes approximately 8 minutes for the sun's light to actually travel to us here on
Yeah.
Earth. So when you
Mhm.
look at these, especially the sun, when you look at it, it's like how it was in the past. And it's the same thing with some of these stars that we observe. So even light
Yeah.
from this star system, which is 26,000 light years, it means when the light reaches us, we are receiving something actually from the past, not something instantaneous, right? And it's one of the things that actually intrigues me as a young researcher in astronomy because some of the stars that I did study look young because the data
Mhm.
traveled. I mean, we took the data from. I mean, when we pointed the telescope and took the data from these real sources, Um, obviously, we did it now, but whatever data we are receiving is coming from those sources lots of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's not instantaneous, and that's what I think also intrigues me a little bit, because it's almost like time travel in some sense if you're studying these things,
Yes, actually, yes,
right?
yes.
Which is really amazing. So going back to interstellar travel, so again, I'm not an expert in anything having to do with traveling into space. It's just some of these things
Yes.
I think we have all read about, and probably
Yeah.
people know a bit more, obviously. So one of the main issues is, I think, the energy source. So
Yes.
we don't know how to power rockets, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have an instantaneous amount of energy to be able to supply to these rockets, because
Mm-hmm.
if you are traveling to, say, a very far away star system, you need, I mean, you can't stop on the way and refuel or do anything. So it means that we need constant supply of energy to be able to travel,
Definitely.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we can do time travel, which is a different topic. But the energy source is one of the, I think, main hindrances to having to do interstellar travel.
Yes.
As a comparison, just traveling from the Earth to the planet Mars takes roughly 7 to 9 months to do with the current rockets we
Wow.
have, right?
Crazy.
And
Yes.
what that means is, and actually, so people have to remember that Mars is the closest planet to us. And if that
Yes.
is even taking 9 to 7 months, which is how long we spend before, I mean, in our mom's um, womb before being given birth to, if
Yes.
we need to spend that to get to a different planet, then it becomes an issue. Because, for example, let's say you go halfway to the journey and then you run out of oxygen or something, you can't come back to Earth, because by the time you come back, you'll be gone. And I think another thing that also comes into, I mean, even traveling within our own solar system, is the fact that, um, I mean, people have not been exposed, or astronauts have not been exposed to long duration missions in space, which means that we don't know how to keep human beings alive for those long journey missions. Right. And of
Yeah.
course, I think in the future, this would depend a lot on fields like medicine, where we would know how to, maybe there are specific things we can take, probably hibernation, where we can put
Mm-hmm.
human beings
Yes.
in some form of state, so that maybe
Mm-hmm.
halfway the journey, we don't have to deal with maybe the harsh environment in space, in the sense of you'll be alone, even if you're with a crew and you're in a confined space, people can lose their heads and stuff. So yeah, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely interesting. So it's an interesting topic or discussion to have, because interstellar travel, I think, in the end, would be one of the things that will make us obviously a spacefaring species, but it'll probably
Yeah.
change a lot about like how we see ourselves and then Earth and everything else. I feel like I'm hugging the conversation, but yeah.
Oh no, it's actually pretty interesting. Yes, it's actually there's definitely that the whole hibernation thing definitely, and I think that the like what you mentioned about helping them, like when they are enclosed in a place,
Mhm.
literally in a vacuum,
Yeah,
where outside is actively trying to kill them. Definitely, the hibernation would definitely help. And another take I've also heard from the hibernation is, um, if you're going to travel for a very like most things in movies though, travel for a very long distance. Let's say you want to get somewhere in 100 years, right?
yeah,
If you are awake or throughout that time, you obviously age and
yes,
probably
it's true. I forgot
die.
about that.
Yeah, so normally they just try to freeze all forms of like your existence or your living
Yeah,
until the 100 years to where you get there, you wake up to you basically sacrifice your life for the mission. You know,
I'll be out
all of
for
you
it. I'll
who
be
have
out for
watched,
it. I'll be out for
yes,
this. I'll sacrifice
up
myself.
Interstellar should let all of us know about it. Yeah, Interstellar and is it the Traveler?
Yeah, this is
All the
definitely
space movies.
interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. Yeah,
Interesting.
like the actual hibernation, like literal, like the bears going for winter and coming back kind of hibernation.
Wow. Hmm. It's interesting. Interesting. Well, anyway, check. How many more data sets do we have to take? Has it done
I
5?
think Yes, it has done five. I think this is the seventh one. Yes, the
Oh,
seventh
okay,
one we're
okay,
working
okay,
on.
cool.
I'll say, yeah, this should be enough. But when the seventh one is done, then we can finish up the observations for the night.
Yeah, yeah, it means we still have more time to chit chat.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question though. I've not asked this question before.
Okay.
What is your favorite part, or what part of astronomy do you love more than the others?
So, so I mean, when I started my research at the University of Leeds, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I was doing an astronomy research, obviously, and when I think before I even started doing the whole thing,
Yeah.
the mindset I had was I could actually study everything in astronomy. That's how I thought.
Yeah.
So, for example,
Okay.
if I mean everything, it's everything you think: dark matter, dark
Hmm.
energy, black
Yes,
holes,
all those good stuff.
stars,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
everything. I actually felt I could study everything, but very
Mm-hmm.
quickly, I found out that astronomy is very, very, very huge, right? There are
Yes.
different fields, and some of
Mm-hmm.
these fields that I even mentioned, black holes, maybe even studying stars in general,
Mm-hmm.
there are
Mm-hmm.
specifics among all these things. And I can give an
Mm-hmm.
example
Yeah.
that, for example,
Okay.
if you want to study stars, you can
Yeah.
decide to just use something called an optical telescope, which is basically a telescope that sees what we can
Mm-hmm.
see, right?
Yes.
Or you can use a radio telescope, which is just a telescope
Mm-hmm.
that picks radio waves or radio emissions
Yeah.
from
Okay.
these various stars. So a lot of people don't know, but most objects in space, like stars, emit
Mm-hmm.
radiation which can be found in what is called the EM spectrum or the
Wow.
electromagnetic spectrum, which has
Yeah.
the various radiations like radio waves, microwaves, um, obviously optical, which is what light, the usual light we can see, among others. So there are seven of
Yeah.
those. So
Mm-hmm.
even in astronomy, you can specify or you can decide to just be maybe an X-ray astronomer, which means you be studying maybe stars or the universe in X-ray using X-ray telescopes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
going back to the point about which part of astronomy do I really like um,
Yeah.
studying, my supervisor would probably not be happy hearing me say this, but um, I, to be honest, like I said, I mean, when I was going into astronomy, in the end,
Mm.
what I wanted to really, really be studying is black holes, really. Black holes
Okay.
or gravitational waves. Like
Yeah.
that was like my thing, right?
Mm.
Because again, it goes a little bit back to the kind of person I am and some of the things that drives me.
Yeah.
Obviously, black hole is an unknown, right? And for me,
Yes.
I want to know how
Mm-hmm.
things happen. And
Yes.
I think as somebody who obviously is driven by the unknown and especially related to space,
Yeah.
black hole for a long time has been something we don't know a lot about. And I've
Yeah.
always wanted to, in a way, contribute to it. So yeah, that's my like kind of my the field in astronomy I really,
Yeah.
really like. If you ask me that, okay, if you would like if something I would want to spend the rest of my life doing, then it has to be that. But
Black
obviously I
holes.
ended up well, I shouldn't say I ended up um in my in my master's so it was a master's by research which meant it was an original research, and
Yeah.
I did study young massive stars, and
Wow.
honestly I found it very interesting. Like I said again, you would have thought that, oh, if you're an astronomer you can just study stars. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's no real well there's a difference between a young star and then, let's say, we call it a main sequence star, which is like
Okay.
a middle age star or like the normal star you study. And then we have stars also that die, right? So yeah, so when I did
Oh.
study these young massive stars, again, you would think
Yeah.
that if stars are young, they would just be like their sizes would probably be the same. But then one of the
Mm-hmm.
main things in astronomy also, especially I mean in studying young massive stars, is we actually don't know how these stars, so some of them end up with very, very big like masses. I can
Yeah.
liken it to a baby, really. So people
Mm-hmm.
give birth to small babies, others give birth to like very big babies. And it's the same thing with what I was trying to study. So we don't actually, I don't know about like human beings, how, well, I guess maybe I have an idea of how you could give birth to a big baby and then how you could give birth to a small baby. Maybe it's hereditary. So the child
Yeah.
just picks it from the mom or something. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But it's the same thing in astronomy. We don't actually know how stars can be very young. Some of them can be very young, but then be very, very massive. So if I mean
Oh,
very, very massive, those will be stars that have masses 8 times the mass of our sun. So if you think that, let's say the mass of our sun is just, say, we say one solar mass, some of these
yeah.
young stars that I did study are
Okay.
as big as 10 times the mass of our sun, which is really, really
Wow.
huge, right?
Huge.
And we don't know how they end up with those masses. So I did study these various stars using radio data, which basically means the radiation in terms of in the radio wavelength that comes from these various stars to be able to try to understand them. And yeah, there you go. In terms of what I read, I should finish off by saying that obviously I really did enjoy it because, like I said, it was an eye opener to me because, like I said, like I said a few, well, like I said, I found out very quickly that I would have to be specific to be able to really get far in terms of being able to study these things. And obviously, studying young massive stars really opened my eye. And I really, really enjoyed it. Having to work on data from huge telescopes. So, some of these telescopes, actually, some of the data I used are from a combination of 23 different telescopes. We call it interferometry, and you can
Yeah.
combine all these data as one and then study these stars with, which was really, really amazing. Of course, I
Yeah.
didn't get the opportunity to actually visit telescopes, but
Oh,
it was really great. I think, yes, I did start my research right after COVID, so it was a tricky time. And yeah, that's a very long answer to probably a very simple question.
well, yes. Oh, I think I really like this. Yeah, it actually
Mhm.
kind of makes sense, right? Because normally when people are talking about astronomy, it's like, oh, only the rich people do it, or when you go, you always do what you want and that kind of thing. But now with you, it's like, you really want to do something and you got to be able to do just the stars, but you are young. I think there's more time for black
Mhm,
research.
mhm.
Yes, there's a lot more time for black hole research.
Yeah, and these days too, building satellites and stuff has
Mm.
distracted me a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, let's see. Hopefully, again, my supervisor doesn't hear me say all these things. He's going to kill me.
Yes. Let's just hope that we get our satellites off the ground and get a system
Yeah,
working so you can have more time for your research.
yeah. Maybe we can talk a little bit. How many minutes until we have the final data
Yeah, we
collected?
have the final data collected. I'm just compiling everything into,
Okay, okay,
yes,
cool, cool.
into a
Okay,
format that you can easily
cool.
use for your work. So I'm just doing that. So while we talk, I'm doing that.
Yeah, so yeah, I think the thing about having to do satellite stuff, especially in Ghana and also yeah, in Ghana to be specific, is I mean, if anybody has been to Ghana or been to Africa, one of the issues that we face is connectivity, right?
Yes.
And it's all part of it's all linked to the fact that um we don't have our own
Yes.
satellites. And I mean, this is still a little bit new in the sense that you don't have a lot of companies,
Um,
or you don't have a lot of countries don't have their own space agencies
Yeah.
or don't even have space agencies. They are not starting.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that the space sector is not developed a lot.
Yes.
And I'm sure, I mean, since we met, which is probably more than 5 years
Yes.
ago, I think what we have all been looking forward to trying to do is trying to develop our own sort of like technology in terms of space to try to be independent in some sense. And we have been doing this through obviously projects where, for example, we go to schools and teach students how to build experimental satellites. And I think the final goal would be to to be able to settle on our own designs for satellites that we can use to solve some of these issues. So, for example, if we have a constellation of satellites in the end, we can actually use this to provide some form of connectivity, like how we have companies already doing that today. And to be honest, I think for me, it would be a big goal because I mean it is a big goal and it will be a big obviously it will be a big achievement, but not because we have been able to do it, but because of the kids, the students who I've seen and even the communities that I know would use some of the things we are doing in terms of being connected to other parts of the world or being connected to even Africa, like other African countries in general, through internet or anything like that. It's going to be very huge in the sense that it could even lead us to be able to solve easily some of the issues that we face as a continent. I mean, they are very, very obvious ones, and I don't think it's important to mention them, but yeah, issues related to food insecurity, among others, we can actually use these various technologies and what we are trying to do to be able to um, help people like that. And I think it's something that I have actually seen a lot of other countries trying to do these various things. And I think it's very, very important that in the end we can all work together as one and be able to achieve those various goals. So yeah, definitely it's something I'm really looking forward to. And I should say that you are a very great team member in several aspects. And one of the obvious ones is the fact that um, you have the drive to be able to put it there. And I guess it's again related to the fact that this is something you have a personal connection with in terms of being able to do these stuff. So yeah, well, I think I'm speaking. If I say this, I'm speaking on behalf of the team to say that yeah, it's really great working with you, and I'm sure everybody else will say the same thing about each other. But yeah, it's great.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. We definitely need a lot of technology, like the new ones that can actually help Ghana develop and stuff. I always have
Mhm.
issues with my internet connectivity. And today, as I
Oh,
look on my phone, I am marveling at how good the network is right now. And it shouldn't be so because we are all consumers of internet and it's just doesn't it's not really progressive, or it's not really like it doesn't make progress happen when we always have maybe some internet or some internet off. We need that sort of constant and stable connectivity. So having a satellite definitely makes sense, and how to educate people, improve the space agency in Ghana and Africa. Definitely, that is definitely a good thing that we need to do.
brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, I think we can spend hours just talking about satellites. I mean, satellites in general, and also some of the issues we have with connectivity. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's already something I think we all have. Um, yeah, it's already something we all know about, and I think at least knowing about these problems, it's much easier for us to not just find our drive, but also to be able to work towards being able to make things much better.
Yeah.
Um, maybe we can finish off with other conversations. Maybe let's see. What would you do if you see an alien?
What if I saw an alien? First of all,
Yeah.
it would be, first of all, communication is obviously like important, right? Because I don't
Hmm.
know how I'll be able to communicate with it.
Exactly.
Yes, I don't
So
know.
so let's imagine that. Let's say the alien could understand you and you could understand the alien.
Oh,
Actually, let me actually ask. I think there's a much better question.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So somebody asked me this, that if I ever meet an alien, or let's say an alien visits Earth,
yes.
and then the alien asks me that, oh, can you show me what's like to be a human being,
Mm-hmm.
or like what you would identify with every human being?
Yes.
Almost like um a tourist going to a different country and like, oh, what's the best spot in town or something like that.
Okay.
Where would you take the alien?
Wow, this is a hard question. I guess,
Oh, feel free. You
yeah,
can have all the time
I
to
get,
think about it.
the human experience is like, it's not just beings, it's like we are all humans, even though we live in different parts of the world. So the
Hmm.
human experience would just be living, you know? I wouldn't take the alien to any part. I'll just let the alien go through my daily routine. Then maybe we'll go out to
Mm,
ride, then we'll travel sometime. I mean, the human experience is a very complex and a very like involving thing. Or
mm.
like make their Game of Thrones and Babylon Time House.
I think you would really enjoy it.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Guess what you think I would I would do with the alien, or take the alien to.
What will
Try
you
to
do?
guess.
I don't know.
Think about some of the things I like.
Oh, you were the alien with the Big Bang Theory.
That is the second thing on the list.
Oh, the
But
second. Oh,
yeah,
it's so close.
that's no, that's really close.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely I'm watching the Big Bang Theory with the alien.
yes.
The first thing would be to play football with the alien.
I know I said football. I knew she said football. I
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's very interesting. I think when we talk about aliens in general,
mm-hmm.
it's well, of course, I mean, I know a lot of scientists, especially people that want to come off very serious.
Yeah.
Probably not the best way to put it,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of people don't want to engage in the conversation
Yeah.
about aliens, and I completely understand why. Because if you actually think about the possibility of us being able to ever meet something like that, it's very complex.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I asked the question about what will you take the alien, and the alien,
Mm-hmm.
among others, the first thing you said was you need to be able to know how to communicate with the alien, right?
Yes.
So that's the right question. Um, would the alien be something you can actually talk to?
Yeah.
Will you be able to even see it in the first place?
Mm.
Maybe it can see you and they can communicate in a way that we don't know. You never know.
Yes.
So in general, it's a very like complex thing. Another thing I should say, maybe more scientific, is to say that um the the very first thing is, so maybe let me start off from from an astronomy point of view first.
Yeah.
So the thing is, so far astronomers know that at least one star, at least if you have a star, it has at least one planet around it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, if you think about this, we have billions and billions of stars,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
In our night sky, for example.
Yes.
And if you go a little bit deep into the night sky,
Mm.
you'll notice that we actually have also billions and billions of galaxies. And galaxies are made up of billions and billions of
Yes.
stars.
Yeah.
So if we are saying that at least one star, right, would have at least one. And for example, our star, which is the sun, has 8 planets around it.
Yeah.
But if you are saying on the average, every star will have at least one planet around it, what that means is there are actually more planets than there are stars,
Yes. That's actually true. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So what I think what everybody should accept is that it's just arrogant for any human being to say that we are alone, and then there's no other planet that would probably support life or probably has some form of life form, right?
Yeah.
I think it's arrogant because just from the fact that we have more planets than there are stars,
Yeah.
come on, you can't think that we are very special. Fine,
Exactly.
I mean, it's okay for you to think that we are very special, but I mean, if you go by the science, it's a bit arrogant. So
That's
I
true.
completely respect, I mean, whatever people believe in. And like I said, we don't know the answers to some of these
Mm.
questions. It's just a conversation we are
Yeah.
having, right? But yeah, that's definitely interesting. And another thing is also, if we do ever find, so the very first step obviously is finding a planet like ours.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have been close. We have found planets or star systems like the TRAPPIST star system,
Mm-hmm.
which has some possible habitable planets,
Yes.
right? I think there was one, is it TRAPPIST 1B or something? I've forgotten, or 1C. And one of those planets revolves or goes around its star almost the same. Well, it's close to how we have the Earth going around the sun.
Yeah.
So it's almost just at the right distance away from its star or its sun, which means that that's one of the possible things that I think astronomers have suggested,
Okay.
that it means it could be able to host some form of life
Life.
on it.
Yeah.
But then again, it's very far away from us. So
Mm.
we can't actually go there even in the first place to be
Yes.
able to find out that. But then through astronomy, so one thing is, if you study the light that a planet reflects from its sun,
Mm-hmm.
it actually tells you a lot about the planet. And that's how come I know these things that I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So when you study the light that comes from a planet or that a planet reflects, you can be able to know the atmospheric composition of those various planets, which would then suggest to you if it's like Earth, which means it has the right composition of oxygen, nitrogen, among those other gases which support life.
Okay.
And that's how come we know that these planets are habitable or like could be possible for us.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing is, if we find a planet like that, then the next step will be to check if the life forms that are there. Let's say there's water. I mean, yeah, actually the next step is, when you find a habitable planet, you have to check if it has water.
Water. Yeah.
Because here on Earth we say that where there's water, there's
There's
life,
life.
right?
Mm.
So if you happen to find water there, then you can go on and say that, you know what?
There could be life.
Okay, it has water there, then there should be life. Right. Then now you can go into the kind of the realms of being able to debate whether you will find an alien there. Now, well, I shouldn't say alien. I should just say you'll find some form of life there.
Yeah.
Now, if you get to the point where you can conclusively say, okay, there's definitely life there, then you go on to the next step, which is this life intelligent or is it just microbial? So microbial just means just like the simplest form of living organism that you can have, or do we have the simplest living organism having to evolve into something like a human being?
Yeah.
Right. So it's very complex. And for me, I usually say that as a serious, well, if I want to answer the question of aliens or finding life, as a serious scientist, I say that I think definitely we would find some form of life on a different planet.
Yes.
But I think it's going to be microbial. I don't think it's going to be intelligent
As
like
we are.
human beings. Right. I think again it would solely depend on the fact that we would be able to travel to a different star system. I don't mean a different planet, a different star system. Then the likelihood of being able to find a planet that supports life and all those things will be very, very easier. Or it will be a much more like good conversation to have.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes us into why I like the planet Mars so much.
Yeah.
So the best thing that I like to look at when I go out in the night sky is the planet Mars, because obviously, well, a lot of people don't know, but I want to go to Mars one day and probably be the first Martian or something like that. Well, I don't know. But yeah, be part of one of those Martians or the people on Mars. And I think from having to study Mars using rovers, which is just robots that move on, it doesn't move around. So NASA has been able to send a few, I think more than three, and they have found evidence of um, some form of lake or riverbeds on the surface of Mars.
Yeah.
What that suggests is that probably in the past, Mars had some form of liquid water
Yeah.
flowing on
Mm-hmm.
it, which means that it's very likely that perhaps we may find some leftover microbial life or anything if it's there, because at the moment we know that there's no life on Mars at the moment,
Yeah.
and probably we don't know what will happen, but I think with research we may be able to find something
Yes.
there in the future. But yeah, that's about
All
alien
right.
life.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
I kind of have the opinion that the universe is billions and billions of years old and trillions of years wide, right? So I kind of have the opinion that there is probably intelligent life, or there might have existed some intelligent life, sometime in the
Hmm.
past, or there
Interesting.
will be intelligent life sometime in the future. But I don't think that we will be the only, we are the only, and like we're the only intelligent life. I think there's a lot more out that we don't know. It's like it's an unknown, like it's an unknown
Hmm.
unknown, and there could even be some unknown unknowns that we don't even know. We don't know. So
It's true. It's
yeah,
true.
so it's like
It's true.
yeah, it's really exciting to just think and mull over all of this and um think about the vastness and like how creative the universe and nature is and everything.
To be honest, sometimes I feel like I was probably born too early.
I know, right? I mean,
I feel like maybe I should have been in a different generation, sort of,
a whole new millennia. Like,
because I think all the exciting things are in the future.
yes.
I don't know if I'm being silly, but yeah, I feel like all the exciting things probably will be able to time travel.
Yes.
I don't know how long I can live to be able to see
I
that.
doubt.
Maybe say, maybe see what Sheldon, or maybe do what Sheldon wanted to do to be
Yes.
able
With
to
his consciousness.
transfer. Yes, yes, you transfer my consciousness into a machine, maybe a satellite, a self-orbiting satellite around my own planet or something like that.
Yeah.
I think those things are in the future. But anyway, I should say that, yeah, I think the future really looks exciting, which is why I think having conversations like this
Mm-hmm.
with anyone, like anyone who's interested in knowing about
Yeah.
space in general, I think it's very exciting, because definitely I think we would have a lot of things to do, and we can keep this conversation going
Yes.
on and on and on and on. But um, yeah, maybe it's a good place to stop. And I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah. I think I've got all the data
Oh, you have the
compiled.
data now.
I've sent it to your email and everything is done.
Okay.
We're ready. So let me just I think I began packing up when we were talking about the alien life. So
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right.
yes.
So please, yeah, you can pack the telescope. This telescope can actually do, well, packing. It has a packing feature which just basically puts it in, well, it just faces up and sort of turns it as self off, and then you can be able to just well, pack it into the box and everything,
Yeah.
which is cool. Maybe before we finally get everything wrapped up, what do you think the future for space in Africa, to be specific, looks like?
I think the future would obviously begin with the creation of a space agency. There have
Hmm.
been the satellite talks are very, very important, and we
Hmm.
starting them creates a sort of market for them. And very soon we would actually have our first satellite just actually doing communications, observations for
Hmm.
the Ghanaian and African Space Agency. And a lot more research be done on the stars, black holes, of which Solomon, we are waiting for your paper. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a lot of pressure.
Yes. We have to give you pressure because we're waiting for it and all of that. So
Mm.
that is how I see the future of space in Africa is going to be.
To be honest, I will probably say the same thing you said. So with the African Space Agency being established, I think that takes us closer to a better Africa in terms of space, where we can have collaborations from different countries to be able to achieve a unique space goal. Yeah, you also did mention what we are also doing as X-Space Solutions. I mean, in our small way, we believe having to build miniature satellites would really help that field, which is slightly connected to having a satellite constellation in the end, which can help with internet, among others. So, yeah, in general, I think the future for space in Africa looks great. And it's been a very, very interesting conversation, and obviously a very lovely observation section with you. And I'm very, very happy that we ended up having all this conversation. And yeah, thank you so much for being such a lovely person to talk to. And yeah, I would be in touch. All right.